This is the High School Football America podcast. I'm Jeff Fisher. The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat, America's premier sideline instant replay system with outstanding reliability, faster speed than Huddle Sideline. Plus, GameStrat has awesome customer service. They're always there for you, and they have plans priced right for every coach's budget. To get a demo, go to GameStrat.com or click on the GameStrat banner ad located on every page of HighSchoolFootballAmerica.com. Heading to the state of Texas, Austin, Texas. I've heard they play some pretty darn good football in the state of Texas, and I love this time of year. We get to promote, announce, and then interview our National Coach of the Year. That's presented in cooperation with the National High School Coaches Association. And the man on the other end of the line joining us today is someone that really deserves this award. He has done so much in the sport of high school football, dating all the way back to when he was a player, chunking the ball around with that right arm of his. Todd Dodge, the head coach at Westlake High School. I don't know if I have to say it's the former coach at Westlake High School because he retired after winning his third straight championship on Saturday at AT&T Stadium, the home of the Dallas Cowboys, stepping down after a long time, 23 years as a high school football coach, 233 victories. If you divide that out, I think that's a 10-plus per season. And Coach Dodge is on the line right now. Coach, first off, congratulations on the championship. Congratulations on the career. And congrats on being our National Coach of the Year. Thanks for joining me.
Well, good afternoon to you, Jeff, and thank you so much for this great honor. These kids and these coaches here at our banquet coming up in a few weeks will be glad to share this with me, I know. Yeah,
it's fun to have you. I mean, you've just done so much in the sport of football, not just in Texas, but you became a kind of a household name around the country as you were leading South Lake Carroll to all those championships and national championships. I don't even know where to start with you, other than I remember when you took some time to talk with me during the writing of my book about your high school career, and I think that's where I want to start. And I remember that you had talked a lot about your high school coach and, what he kind of did for you and whatnot. And since that was the written word, I'd love for you maybe to start there with how your high school coach affected you and maybe wanted to get you into this crazy profession known as coaching.
Well, it's Ronnie Thompson, who, a lot of times people ask you who are the biggest influences on your career, and he is number one at the top of the list. He is a man that was from Port Arthur, Texas. He came back to coach at his alma mater in 1978, which was my sophomore year. He was so far ahead of his time in the passing game. In that window of 79, 80, when I was a junior and senior, we were throwing the ball 30, 32 times a game. Mm-hmm. In the age of the split back veer and the wishbone. And, but he was, he was very much a father figure to me in my last 2 years of high school. So influential as far as teaching me from an offensive standpoint, what it meant to what I call spread the wealth, to have an offense that is explosive but balanced. And so when I got through playing for him in 1980, 81, I knew when I went to the University of Texas that I wanted to be a high school football coach.
And the rest is history, they say, after 23 years of a whistle of the head coach. And I'm just curious, you had that dream, right? You knew that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of people in life that went to college for something and then they got into that profession like, boy, I don't like this at all. So I'm assuming football lived up to your expectations, didn't it?
Yeah. It's one of those deals where I've been a college coach before in my 36 years of coaching. Probably 8 of those have been spent at the college level. And that was all those times were good. But I was never one of those people when I got to college that was, just had to be a college football coach at the end of my career. I really wanted to be a high school football coach. And because of the experience that I had in Port Arthur with my coaches and my teammates, I mean, the cliche is, coaches are like fathers and your teammates are like your brothers. Well, it was absolutely what it was like for me. And I wanted every part of that. And so most of my coaching career, I'd say probably 75% of it, was up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And that's where Elizabeth and I raised our children. And, after the run at South Lake Carroll, I'd been there 7 years, and someone offered me a Division I head coaching job, and I took it, and it didn't work out so well over the next 4 years as far as production. But I got back into high school coaching, and that's by the time you and I talked the last time. It was probably about 8 years ago when I was at Marble Falls.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it was. Coach Todd Dodge on the line with us, head coach at Westlake High School at the end of his career. Retires 3 straight state championships. Doesn't get much better than that, except for maybe the 40-plus win streak that will remain on the resume unless he gets the bug to do it again. We'll talk about the couple of finalists later on. We had 3 finalists that we named. But, Coach, you decided before the start of the season that this was going to be it. You announced it was going to be your last year. Swan song, right? I don't know. Did anybody give you what Derek Jeter got, like a rocking chair or something like that? Whatever they did. I guess going back to my last question of did high school football live up to your expectations? How do you think this swan song of a final year lived up to your expectations?
High school football throughout the 35 plus years of me coaching has been everything I could have ever expected. I grew up in the state of Texas. I love Texas high school football. It is the biggest thing going, in the state of Texas, always has been. And just the support of the Westlake community, the great players that I've had coming through here at Westlake, at South Lake Carroll, the staff that I have right now, they will all stay intact. My defense coordinator, Tony Salazar, will be the next head coach here because he deserves it, and the program has been productive, and that's the way it'll go. And so I'm so happy about that. But this year, to announce that that I would retire at the end of the season, I wanted to make sure that I didn't wait till the end or there being speculation, because there was a lot of speculation and rumors flying around this summer that this would be my last year. So it's going to be, and I think that kept the drama to a low, and we were able to all enjoy it. But the kids, there was a lot of pressure on our kids this year to go back to back to back in the state of Texas for themselves to be in a position to make history, and then for them to help do it for their old coach. We were able to get it done, and it was just fabulous. We did. We finished out the 3-year window. We're 40-0 over the last 40 games.
It doesn't get much better than that. Coach of the Year, Todd Dodge, here on the line with me on the High School Football America podcast. He is the High School Football America and NHSCA Coach of the Year. And I promised myself here, because I made a little bit of a note, that before we get too deep into this, after 3+ decades and all that, and all the championships and all that, someone that probably hasn't gotten as much credit as she should, and you heard me say she, so you probably know where the question's going. I would love for you to talk a moment or two about your wife, Elizabeth, and what she has done for you in the coaching profession, for the schools you've been at, and all of that, because you can't do it alone without a strong second half, if you will.
She's been everything. She's been the absolute backbone behind this family, and I always tell people Elizabeth was in this industry the day she was born, because her father was a high school football coach and athletic director. I was not. My father was not a coach, and so I really got involved in football when I was 8 or 9 years old. She's been doing it her whole life, and to marry a woman who understood the profession, had grown up in it, had loved it, had absolutely, been that little girl like in the Remember the Titans that was always with her dad, riding the bus, watching film. That's who Elizabeth was as a little girl. And so the support that she's given me, especially I think back up early in our career, where when I said, hey, we're leaving the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're going to Cameron, Texas, for my first head coaching job. She didn't blink. There's been a lot of coaches that early in their career couldn't make that move because the wife wouldn't allow it to happen. She didn't even blink. She knew that sometimes you've got to pick up and go to make it in this profession. And so, right now we're starting the front end of our retirement. And I told her, I said, wherever you want to live it's wherever we're going to live for the rest of our lives is going to be up to you, because I've taken you all over the state of Texas, and hell, I even moved her up to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for a year.
Well, hey, I'm from Pennsylvania. Watch what you're saying there. Love the Keystone State. No, I'm teasing.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, and maybe this is a good way to segue too. And I've talked about this to so many people, when I'm traveling the country doing what I do, about some of the really interesting schools that are they're known for football, but they've got great athletic programs. And yours is one that I toss up there. Westlake High School. You talk about Coach Neptune, your wife's father. Ken Dabbs, who we spoke about off the air. I love the legendary late great Ken Dabbs. Can you kind of put into words for people that are living wherever it is? Washington State, Florida, Pennsylvania, the Westlake tradition, football and athletics in general. Yeah.
Well, it started with Coach Kenneth Dabbs in 1969, and my father-in-law, Evie Neptune, he was his right-hand man when they started it. And the way I always tell our players right now is that we are traveling on an 8-lane superhighway because of what Ken Dabbs and what Evie Neptune and what Ron Schrader and what Derek Long, some other coaches that have been here, and many, many others, and great players, what they did for this program. But Coach Dabbs was the guy who started it, and then Coach Neptune kept it going. And I was, just as following the years, but we've now won 4 state championships in football. We've got great men's basketball. I think our women's basketball program has won, 4 state championships throughout the years. Volleyball has been powerhouse. Our golf programs, our girls and boys have won state championships over the last 4 years. It's a school of about 2,700 students, which in our state, that's 6A is the highest classification. And 2,700 students is about, it's in probably the bottom 50% of size of school. So we're not a mega school like, some of the ones up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I think one thing that is good about Westlake, we are a one high school town. We have Westlake Hills has one high school. So the feeder program, we've got 2 middle schools where, I get to hire all the middle school coaches. And then the programs, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, men's or women's, volleyball, everybody is working from the 7th grade level on up to be a chaperone.
And I remember talking to Coach Noakes, your golf coach, who was the NHSCA Boys Golf Coach of the Year, and he was just talking about, just that camaraderie, I guess. He even said that when I was interviewing him for that award, whenever that was last year, he was saying, I love what Coach Dodge does. I somehow, in some ways, try to run my even though they're golfers, I make it a little bit more physical. I kind of laughed at that. Is that true? Was he telling me a story, or is that something that you've heard Coach Noakes do, that it's not just golf, you got to be in shape to golf?
Well, what Coach Noakes does is he sees the value in mental toughness. And I know at any point during the year, our golf program is a year-round program as far as competition. But if there is a really, really bad, windy, kind of rainy day, guess what? Our golfers are going to go out and practice. He's going to put them right in the worst kind of elements they possibly can be in. I always thought that was awesome that he did that, because we're fixing to go, put you, because you're going to have to play it in sometime in a tournament. You're going to have to play under adverse conditions. So and then the other thing is that we probably got one of the stronger golf teams. They get in the weight room now. They obviously got
he said that
they've got a different lifting program than our football team is. But I mean, they get in the weight room with our strength and speed coach, Jason Jones, and they train, like athletes.
I remember him telling me that maybe the only golf team in America that has a football mentality. Todd Dodge on the line with me here, the High School Football America National Coach of the Year Award and winner. And Coach, you can't get this award without assistants and coordinators and obviously the players, the administration. Tell me a little bit about the people that you'd like to kind of put in here. Obviously, if I had 2 hours on this, we could get everybody's name in there. But who are some of the people that are a part of this award for you?
Well, Kirk Rogers, who is my offensive coordinator, he, Kirk and I have been together for quite some time. He was with me at South Lake Carroll and here. He's my wide receiver coach. Just a fabulous communicator with our kids. Tony Salazar, my defense coordinator. Tony has orchestrated, defenses over the last 3 years that have only given up about 8.5 points a game for a 3-year window. And Kirk has orchestrated offenses that have scored over 52 points over a 40-game window. Brandon Murdoch, my offensive line coach. The interesting thing about Brandon, I wouldn't trade him for anybody in the state of Texas as an offensive line coach. And there's a lot of really, really good ones. He is fantastic. I coached him when he was in high school at South Lake Carroll. He was the center on my very first team at South Lake Carroll. And lo and behold, 21 years later, he and I go out as champions together, last Saturday night at AT&T. As far as, administrators, our superintendent, Tom Leonard, Tom and I we literally got hired on the same day, in a Friday in late April 2014. He was coming in to be the new superintendent. I was coming in to be the new athletic director and head football coach. And we've had a great partnership, and I appreciate his support through the years. And then, and I mentioned Ronnie Thompson through the years, but some of the other people that, I worked for a guy named Ron Poe in McKinney, Texas. People can look that name up. There's a stadium named after him. And I've worked for Bob Ledbetter, who was the longtime athletic director and head football coach at South Lake Carroll. He's the one that really saw something in me as a young head coach to hire me at South Lake Carroll. So I could go on and on, Jeff, but those are some that I absolutely love, and I would not be where I am without them.
I remember a lunch with Coach Ledbetter and Coach Mark Ball somewhere. I forget where I was in Waco or whatever. But boy, I didn't want to leave. So many stories that were being told, and what I learned through Coach Ball and Coach Dabbs and some of the other greats, and you've kind of shed light as we talked for my book about things, is the coaching profession. And I do spend a lot of time around the nation because talking about the way Texas handles the coaching profession. And I believe, by the way, the coaching profession is the best in the world when it comes to what you guys do for young men and young women, whatever the sport and all that. And if you could take a few minutes, having been a part of it for 3+ decades, to tell the people around the nation listening to this how good Texas is at handling the profession and the respect that it gives the coaches, no matter what sport.
Well, it starts out with our Texas High School Coach Association. We have the largest coach association in the world, over 15,000 members. And each summer we meet in either San Antonio or Houston for our convention. And it looks like it's AFCA, the American Football Coaches Association convention that's in January. It's so well done, and Joe Martin and all the guys at Glenn at the Coach Association do a wonderful job of supporting us. But in Texas, you have to be a guy that when you were in college, when you were growing up, that you wanted to be a coach. It's not an afterthought in our state. It's not a deal where people go, you know what, I'm going to go, I'm going to own this insurance company, and then I'm going to coach in the afternoons. That's not the way it goes in Texas. You have to be an employee of the school. So you have to go to college to get your teaching certificate so that you can teach a subject, obviously, and then the sports that you, whether it's football, baseball, football, basketball, whatever it might be. But that's the way it is in the state of Texas. And it was really interesting as I went across the country, sometimes recruiting, I used to think it was the same way, but it's not. And, so it is it is an absolute profession. Now we all adhere to that, whatever sport that we are coaching is a very small percentage of the athletes that we're coaching at any time are probably going to go play at the next level. So it's got to mean more than blocking and tackling and throwing and catching and all that. We have to, while the time that we are with these young men and young women, is that we have, as much time as they put into this thing called football or basketball or volleyball, we have to give them life tools. We have to put them in positions to handle success. We have to put them in positions to handle adversity. And I think those are the things that sports do. I know the other day, we trailed at halftime for the first time all year long. And I told our players, I said, well, I sure hope that we're not going to be one of those just, our character is just going to buckle, because of a little bit of adversity. And it didn't, and the kids handled it so well. I'm so proud of them for that.
Sent you out on a high note. Todd Dodge is our National Coach of the Year. The other two finalists, we had 3 finalists. The other 2, Kevin Creasy, great guy out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, the coach of Oakland, the 2-time now defending champs there in the biggest classification in the volunteer state, and a good friend of mine out in Southern California, Jason Negro, an alum of St. John Bosco, and he's built them into a national power. All 3 of the finalists finishing in the High School Football America top 10 this year. A couple more, and I'll let you go, Coach. I really appreciate your time. Just playing in AT&T, home of the Dallas Cowboys, that makes it that much more special. And oh, by the way, there's more than a couple of thousand people there. There's always 40, sometimes 50, approaching 60,000 fans on that. What's that like? I've been there. It's a bucket list for people. You've got to go to see Texas high school football, a championship there, but explain it to the fans around the nation who just hear about it.
Well, to have 24 teams over a 4-day window, be there to play the state championship, anywhere from Class A all the way up to 6A in our state. And then for the fans to be able to come in for that week and just watch great high school football. And then just the beauty of that place. I mean, it is an unbelievable facility. And I never get tired of going into it. And just I'm like a kid in a candy store every time I go into AT&T and just looking around, and I'll see something new that I'll go, I didn't even notice that. And then of course, the last 3 years, that's where we've ended our season with 3 championships there. There was a time back in the early 2000s that, we didn't play them all at the same place. That didn't start till about, maybe 2000, maybe 10, I think. Mm-hmm. And so all the times that I've played the state championship when I was at South Lake Carroll, it was agreed on between the 2 coaches. A lot of times it was flipped home and home. It may be, the Alamo Dome in the southern part of our state for old Cowboy Stadium, Texas Stadium there in Irving. And now, and I was very adamant. I was one of those folks very adamant. We need to be able to keep it like it is. We don't need to play it all at one central location. We don't need to turn it into, a state basketball tournament and all this kind of stuff. And then as the years have gone by, I've changed my tune. I just think it's one of I think it's one of the greatest things that is going for all these kids and these fans all to come together for the last weekend of high school football and celebrate really the sport. I tell our players all the time, thank your good Lord that your parents landed in the great state of Texas, where high school football is number 1. I mean, it is more talked about than college and professional football. It's more attended. It's not for us at Chaparral Stadium, when we played Euless Trinity early this year, and their team from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and so we had about 12,000 people in for a non-district game at our stadium. Our stadium holds right at, it was completely packed. And that happens quite often in the state of Texas, not just for state championship games, but for regular season games.
Yeah, it's not a thing you just see on TV, folks. Friday Night Lights is real. It truly, truly is. And I guess we also found out, Coach, that you can teach an old dog new tricks since you changed your mind on AT&T. 2 to go away with. 20 years from now, the Westlake football program that won the championship in 2021, they're having a little gathering, and Coach isn't there yet, right? But you get to be a little fly on the wall. What would you love to hear out of the mouths of those young men 20 years later? Coach Dodge did this. Coach Dodge is this. What would you love to hear the kids say about you?
I would hope that they would say that I helped prepare them to be a better father, a better husband, and a better worker. We talk about, we have a saying in our program, and it's written a lot on different shirts and stuff like that. It's just called Stay True. And they all understand what stay true means. Stay true means to never quit. It's never give up on yourself, your teammate, and then more importantly, later on down the line, don't give up on your wife, don't give up on your children. And so I think, one of the biggest things is that I hope that they will see the value of coming through our program at Westlake High School and at Southlake Carroll, all the other places that we've been, is that they feel like it's helped equip them to be a better man in our society.
And I've got one funny one before the last one, which is come next, when fall camp opens up next year, you've got a young man, I think his name is Riley, a coach somewhere up around Southlake Carroll, head coach there, pretty darn successful. You beat him, though, last year in the state championship game. Is Elizabeth asking, hey, Coach Dodge, are you going to be okay come next August? Are you going to get a little, the shakes, will you go up and help Riley? Well, what do you think's going to happen come next fall?
Well, I believe that I'll get a little bit of fix, the itch scratch during the summertime, because I have some quarterback wide receiver camps that I've been having for 30 years, so that'll help. But come fall, I tell you the thing, Jeff, that I'm kind of excited about is that over a long period of time. I mean, Riley, my son, my biological son, who is I'm so proud of. He's 54-5 in 4 seasons at Southlake Carroll. Well, he's coaching at a place that I put a lot of work into, and so I get to go support him and follow the Dragons and watch my grandsons grow up. And then on the flip side of it, I've got Tony Salazar, who is my defensive coordinator, who I think of like a son, who is going to be the head coach at Westlake High School. So I've got 2 of the people I'm closest to that are going to be coaching it at a place that combined, I put in 15 years combined at the 2 places, and I think I'll be welcome to be back to hang around a little bit.
I think so.
And so that's a good thought.
Yeah, and the only thing is they may not give you a sideline pass because they may think that that'll be a little too much. The itch will really need to be scratched then. Yeah. Coach, one last thing for you. So much you did as a high school player, like you said earlier, you were chunking it around before that was in vogue and all that. The championships. Is there any way to ask you a question that says, out of all I've done, this is my favorite memory, or this is the thing that makes me smile when I put my head on the pillow at night?
Well, the number one was the 2006 state championship at Southlake Carroll, when I won a state championship with my son Riley as the starting quarterback. That was it still will always be the one that just jumps out, and so you got to imagine how special that was, because all the rest of them were very special, but that one was one that was something very special to me personally, and to my son, and to my family.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate everything you've done for student athletes through the years. It's just an honor to have you as our National Coach of the Year. I always appreciate that you take the time to interact with me when I call. You know, I'm not a Texas guy. I'm a guy from around the nation. But I tell you, when I saw the votes coming down and you getting closer and closer to the top of the Coach of the Year, I was like, can we get this done before Coach gets out of there? And we are just proud to have you as the National Coach of the Year. Thank you again for everything you've done for student athletes, and just enjoy your retirement.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate it, and I feel so honored, and I'll look forward to sharing this with my team and with my coaches when the time is right. Thank you so much.
The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by NFL Play Football, the NFL's initiative to provide fun and engaging experiences for players of all ages and skill levels. And coaches, don't forget to check out Play Football for some great resources to help you improve in the coaching profession. And that's today's High School Football America podcast. I'm Jeff Fisher.